we got some news this past weekend that the Detroit Lions have two more candidates that they are interviewing for their offensive coordinator job. One being Baltimore Ravens quarterback coach T. Martin, and the other one being Seahawks passing game coordinator Jake Peetz. According to Mike Garafolo, the Lions will interview Seahawks passing game coordinator Jake Peetz for the offensive coordinator job. Source says Peetz has worked closely with Sean McVay with the Rams and now with Clint Kubiak in Seattle. He interviewed for the Buccaneers offensive coordinator job last year and back in the offensive coordinator mix again. Now, Jake Peetz has been in the NFL for a long time, has been in college football as well, and when it comes to T. Martin, he has also been in the league for a long time. This was reported by Jordan Schultz that the Lions, the Lions and Commanders, will interview T. Martin for their offensive coordinator positions next week. Martin has been the Ravens quarterback coach the past 3 seasons, helping Lamar Jackson propel to the 2023 NFL MVP, a well-respected offensive mind. He has done extensive work for Baltimore's passing game as a whole. Those are the Detroit Lions coaches that they will meet with this upcoming week for their potential offensive coordinator job. But they also had 2 current coaches on their coaching staff, assistant coaches, meet with other teams to potentially get an upgraded role for their self. And that is that the Buccaneers are actually interviewing both of them. They're interviewing Lions assistant special teams coordinator Jett Modkins for the special teams coordinator position, per Adam Schefter. Now, Modkins is interviewed multiple times last year, I even believe in 2024, on other teams for their special teams coordinator job. Jett Modkins has been with us now for multiple years and has had multiple opportunities now to become a special teams coordinator somewhere else. Now, that interview has already been completed, so we'll see what happens there. But that is one that I wanted to point out. He will probably get a special teams coordinator job, whether it's with the Bucs or somewhere else. I would assume he would get a special teams coordinator job this year at some point. He's just been on the organization forever, highly respected, and he's had multiple interviews with the past couple years. I believe this is finally the year he will get that special teams coordinator job elsewhere. And then this is the more bigger one, though, per se. This is according to around the NFL. I couldn't find the actual Ian Rappaport source that put that out there. I couldn't find it. But the Buccaneers have also completed an interview with the current Lions passing game coordinator, David Shaw, for their offensive coordinator position. And this one's really big because, obviously, David Shaw, former Stanford head coach. But this is really big because David Shaw obviously been in the football, college football, NFL football for decades upon decades now, highly respected coach. But this was potentially an offensive coordinator candidate for us. Now, I never really wanted him to become offensive coordinator, David Shaw, but there was some people in the Detroit Lions organization that I do believe they would be at least intrigued in potentially bringing in David Shaw for their offensive coordinator job, but also just other people around the NFL. And this is an intriguing one. So this is one that's gonna hurt to lose. If we lose David Shaw, this is gonna hurt. Now, obviously, I'm gonna be curious if he takes this because at this point in his career, David Shaw probably at the end, closing in on the end of his coaching career. I believe he's high 50s, low 60s. In his age. Hopefully I didn't age him there. I actually don't know his age. I believe it's somewhere around there, though. But probably veteran coach, obviously. So we'll see if he really wants that higher role, per se, on a team's coaching staff, or if he's just trying to win a Super Bowl, which I think the Lions are in a better position to do that currently than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So we'll see what happens there. David Shaw has gone over so much as well, how much he respects the Detroit Lions players and how fun they are to work with guys like J-Mo, Gibbs, Laporta, St. Brown, etc. Monty. So there's a lot of players that David Shaw likes to work with, but this is a big one. So I just want to talk about those two. When it comes to Jett Modkins, it's going to hurt, obviously, to lose him, but we have a fantastic special teams coordinator in Dave Phipps, so it's not like we would be moving off of Dave Phipps anytime soon for Jett Modkins to take that special teams coordinator job for us. So if Jett Modkins goes, probably the best case scenario for him. Obviously going to suck to lose both those guys, but the Buccaneers also completed that interview already with David Shaw, so we should be hearing in the next couple of days what happened with them, if they landed those jobs with the Buccaneers or if they went elsewhere with their decisions. But when it comes to T. Martin and I always forget the other guy's name, Jake Peetz They've both been in the league forever. Obviously, T. Martin has worked with arguably the best quarterback in the league, Lamar Jackson, for multiple years now with Baltimore, and has led their passing attack in a big way. Obviously, Zay Flowers is finally developing into a very good receiver. Obviously, he's had some veteran receivers in there as well. None that have really stuck out. They've obviously had guys like Nelson Aguilar, D-Hop, or Rashad Bateman over the years who have been solid wide receivers, but nothing really better than a wide receiver 2 or 3. But he has been a big part of their passing game, and their passing game is continuing to work even with the lack of weapons per se. Obviously, they got 2 phenomenal tight ends in Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely. But when it comes to the receivers, you wouldn't think their you wouldn't expect their passing game to be as good as it actually is with the lack of talent there. So that is very interesting when it comes to T. Martin. Now, I'm curious to see if this guy would be a good play caller, though. This is because Dan Campbell did say in his end-of-season press conference that he's not ruling out the possibility of him calling plays next year. Now, I don't like that personally. I don't think Dan Campbell's horrible at calling plays, but I need Dan Campbell to go back to just being a head coach, worrying about clock management, because that is his worst thing, in my opinion, as a coach, clock management. There's nothing worse. I think that he's worse at than dealing with clock management. So I need him to go back and focusing on that a little bit more to hopefully just get slightly better at it, but also, ramp the players up a little bit more and just focus on being a head coach. So I don't know if T. Martin would be a great play caller necessarily to come in and become a play caller, because then I think you might just have to let Dan Campbell keep calling plays, which I don't think is the right move. So I don't know about bringing in T. Martin for OC. Obviously, this is just an interview. They're not hiring him for OC, but it's nonetheless, they're clearly entertaining it, and I just don't know how I think this guy would be as an offensive coordinator. So, calling plays specifically. So we'll see how that goes. Now, Jake Peetz, I've looked up before, but I forgot where he was in college football. I want to say he was at... I can't remember exactly where he was at in college. Let me see here real quick. But Jake Peetz has worked with a couple phenomenal receivers now in Seattle, and Jackson Smith-Njigba, who in my opinion is the top 3 wide receiver in the NFL right now. And also, obviously, they've had Cooper Kupp as well, who's now at the end of his career as well. But he is also still a solid receiver in this league, and obviously they've had guys like DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett over the years as well. And their passing game now for years upon years has been one of the best in the NFL. Now, the team that he was with, Jake Peetz, in college was LSU. He was their offensive coordinator for LSU multiple years ago, back in 2021. And he did a fine job there. Obviously went to Seattle and then to become their passing game coordinator and has been excellent there. So when it comes to Jake Peetz, this is more of an intriguing one to me than T. Martin, because he's obviously been an offensive coordinator and called plays for LSU. He was very good there at that time. And then obviously he's been a phenomenal passing game coordinator for the Seattle Seahawks. So we'll see what happens there between those two. And we'll see what happens with Jett Modkins and David Shaw. But Jake Peetz is a very intriguing one to me. Not so much with T. Martin, but we'll see what happens there with both of us. I'd still prefer, obviously, between the two, Cliff Kingsbury and Mike McDaniel. We haven't obviously interviewed Cliff Kingsbury, but if we do, I'd love to see him come to Detroit. But we'll see what happens there. One Pride, go Lions. Leave your thoughts in the comments down below. Would you like these guys to become OC? Is there one between the two, T. Martin or Jake Peetz, that you'd rather have? I want to hear it. Leave your thoughts in the comments down below.